You're listening to the P.A.C.E Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
The views expressed by the individuals during this broadcast are their own opinions, and they may not be the same as those of their group or other organizations they may be involved with.
All medical advice during our broadcast is not a medical opinion and should be checked with your medical physician.
Oh yeah, baby, that's lovely.
Good morning, it's December the 9th, and welcome to Psychedelics and Cannabis Educational News, your Psychedelics and Cannabis news source found here at paceradio.net. Good morning, Rev Cindy. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty well this morning, Al. How are you doing?
I'm not doing too bad. I'm looking outside at this freezing rain that we're getting.
That means it's on the way here. I don't like that. I don't like
that's right. We give you a bit of a preview of what you're going to be getting in the coming days.
Yeah, well, at least, yeah. Like I get to, here's the warning, Cindy. This is what's coming.
Yeah. Hey, yesterday was a high of 4 or 5, and I don't know what today's high is, but other than the fact it's going to be warm enough that we're going to get some type of rain.
Yep.
So hold on to your everything you can while you're walking across parking lots or down the sidewalk, because it's going to be slippery.
Yeah.
All righty. Well, to get started in the news today, I haven't got a story to start with everybody here, but I've got some sad news. And that is the passing of Professor Alan Young. For those who don't know Professor Young, he was at the Osgoode Hall Law School in Toronto. He retired in 2018. And prior to teaching at Osgoode, he clerked to Chief Justice Bora Laskin of the Supreme Court of Canada. Let's see what else here. He also challenged state authorities when it came to things. While he was unsuccessful, he challenged some obscenity laws, but still he was able to get some things changed on some stuff, such as they say here, he was successful in striking down drug literature prohibition under the criminal code, and he was successful in challenged drug paraphernalia prohibition in 4 different jurisdictions in 2 different provinces across the country. He was also very, very instrumental in the first constitutional challenge of Canada to the offense of cannabis prohibition, which was dismissed by the Supreme Court of Canada. I believe me and a friend were sitting around. We had plans of like grow your own stores right inside of a mall, like in a strip mall type thing, right? Wouldn't you love to have done that, Cindy? Grow your own in a store?
That'd be awesome.
And then what else? It says here he launched a constitutional challenge, the subject of a documentary film called Stoned, Hemp Nation on Trial. It says although the law was upheld, he created 2 significant exemptions to the cannabis laws. In 1996, he secured the first license by a farmer to grow cannabis for industrial purposes. And more significantly, in the case of the series of court cases from 1998 to 2006, he established the rights of patients to use cannabis for medical purposes. These cases compelled the government to enact a medical program and to establish a supply of medical cannabis. In addition to due to the inadequate of the medical program, Young was able to secure court filings requiring the government to amend its regulatory provisions on 2 cases. And he was also known, I don't know if you know this, and a lot of people know about him through the cannabis end of things, but he was also involved in a case in which he celebrated victories in the case of R versus Bedford, in which he and two of his students successfully challenged three provisions of Canada's sex worker laws. As a result of successful invalidation, Parliament enacted a new legislative regime governing prostitution. Despite the success of the court case, he was disappointed with the Harper government's amendments to the criminal code. But he went on to deal things with freedom of expression, helping individuals with mental disorders, helping the incarcerated and the wrongly convicted. He challenged state officials. He fought for victim rights. And he was involved in media, getting involved in talking to them about different laws and things like that. So, yeah, Alan Young passed away. I haven't got a clue how old he was. But, yeah, he was a warrior. Fought for a lot of us for our rights for cannabis. And, that's why we're here today.
Yeah.
So may you rest in peace, Mr. Young. So, alrighty. On to the regular news of today.
The regular news.
Yes. The psychedelics and cannabis educational news, I guess I can call it. And our first story of the day comes right from Health Canada.
Yeah, coming to us from the International Cannabis Business Conference, Health Canada says only 3% of cannabis consumers obtain products from illegal sources.
And, is that because of the work of Mr. Alan Young?
Maybe.
Every year since 2017, Health Canada has conducted its Canadian Cannabis Survey, in which the government agency poses various cannabis-related questions to members of Canadian society. Canada adopted recreational cannabis legalization in 2018, and the survey helps lawmakers and regulators gain insight into how legalization has affected Canada. Health Canada recently released the results of a 2024 survey, with data being collected from April the 4th to July the 2nd. The 2024 survey involved 11,666 respondents aged 16 years of age and older across the provinces and territories.
Yeah, one of the main findings of this year's survey is that only 3% of consumers reported accessing cannabis through illegal sources, which is a decrease from a reported 16% back in 2019. Many consumers reported cultivating their own cannabis and or being gifted cannabis from friends and family. And the Health Canada survey also found the following. The number of respondents who reported getting cannabis from a legal source in 2024 was 72%, an increase from 37% in 2019 and 72% to 72% in 2024, with legal storefronts being the most common source since 2019.
There was no change in rates of cannabis use among the youth. That's aged 16 to 19 over the past year. The past 12 months, cannabis use among youth aged 16 to 19 was 41%, similar to several previous years, 44% to 43% in 2019, 2020, 2023, respectively. Overall, the proportion of respondents who said they used cannabis and reported daily or almost daily use has been stable since 2018, including among the youth.
Since 2017, Health Canada has conducted the annual Canadian Cannabis Survey, but they missed 21 and 22. I don't know if you noticed that. I just thought it was funny. To better understand attitudes and knowledge regarding cannabis, as well as patterns of cannabis use in Canada. Through the information gathered, Health Canada can better understand where support is needed the most and develop program initiatives that will help educate and raise awareness around the use of Canada. And this is coming from Health Canada. This is what they stated about their survey. And below is a breakdown of the rates of product types reported consumed in 2024 in Canada, according to the survey results. Dried flower is still the big one at 63%, although that's down from 2018. Edible cannabis is next. Vape pens, oil, beverages, hashish or kief, topical products, and concentrates extracts are on the lower end. Interesting.
Yeah. The dried flower going down
from 2020.
Yeah.
And
edibles are up.
Edibles are up. That doesn't shock me. Vape pens are up. That doesn't shock me. The younger generation is coming up. It's easy for them. Oil is unchanged. Beverages are up. It kind of shocks me. They must be getting better. I haven't tried them for a while.
Yeah.
Hashish, this makes me sad. It's down. I love my hash. Yeah.
Yeah, and topicals is that would be like, what do people use recreational topicals for?
Oh, Al. Really? I can think of at least one really great use for recreational topicals. I'm just saying.
Yeah, well, I know, but is that why it's gone up 21%?
Maybe.
Yeah, well, hey, topicals, yeah. Actually, I've got as I mentioned before we went on the show, I'm a bit sore from doing some stuff around here, and I got some topical from You Feel You, and put it on my knees because I got bad knees. Yeah. I noticed it right away. So,
that's
alrighty.
awesome.
Next story.
Yeah. Okay. Coming to us from StratCan, we are reading about P.E.I. amends the 2021 vaping legislation to note it doesn't apply to cannabis products.
New legislation in P.E.I. is clarifying that the province's 2021 ban on the sale of flavored vaping products does not apply to the sale of cannabis vapes. However, a representative for P.E.I. Cannabis tells StratCan that there has been no change in policy regarding what products P.E.I. Cannabis Management Corporation can sell. A request for clarification on whether any relevant changes could be coming in the future in the wake of this new legislation was not provided.
Bill 71, an act to amend the Tobacco and Electronic Smoking Device Sales and Access Act, was introduced in PEI's legislature on November 7th, 2024. The legislation includes 2 amendments that clarify the 2021 amendments to the province's Tobacco and Electronic Smoking Devices Sales and Access Act and regulations. Wow, that's a long title. Bill 71 passed and received royal assent on Friday, the 29th, although it has yet to come into force. The amendments point out that the 2021 amendments do not affect the authority on the province's Cannabis Management Corporation under the Cannabis Management Corporation Act to sell, offer to sell, expose for sale, and have in its possession for sale to persons who may lawfully purchase cannabis items that are related to or used in the consumption of cannabis.
This includes the ability to sell various cannabis products, clarified Nicola Hewitt, Slexter, and legislative specialist with the Department of Health and Wellness during discussions about the bill on November the 8th. Now, in response to a question from Matthew McFarland, Green MLA of Borden, Kincora, about the sale of cannabis distillate vape cartridges, Hewitt said the new amendments address this. It says, Cannabis Management Corporation Act sets out that Cannabis PEI can sell the products. Right now, as a result of the private members bill that came out several years ago, there was some confusion, and this is clarifying it. Papers are an example, she explained. So you're muted. You're still muted.
Oh, I'm coming. I had to click buttons. My apologies. I was coughing and I muted myself so I wouldn't cough on you, and I forgot.
Okay.
The Cannabis Management Corporation Act sets out what Cannabis PEI can sell the products right now as a result of the private member bill that came out several years ago. There was some confusion. This is clarifying it, she explained. You already read that. Papers are deemed to be part of the tobacco-related products. So Cannabis PEI is saying, well, you're governing the papers, so we can't really sell that or the distillate. So the amendment makes it absolutely clear. Something that falls under the authority of the Cannabis Management Corporation Act, this act doesn't apply to that.
PEI-based cannabis brand Figer, F-I-G-R, Figer, which sells cannabis vapes that are available for purchase in other parts of the country, was briefly mentioned during discussions of the bill by Matthew McFarland. He's the Green Party rep for the riding, as I mentioned before, Biden, Kincora. McFarland noted that the brand connected to cannabis producer Canada's Island Garden could not sell its vapes in its home province through P.A.C.E. Cannabis. And P.A.C.E. sold nearly $25 million worth of cannabis in 23-24.
That's a lot for that tiny little province.
Right?
Yeah, cannabis vape pens have been increasingly gaining market share in the legal market. Although dried flower has maintained the top spot, its overall market share has been declining as inhaled extracts, especially vapes, have been steadily increasing. Sales of dried cannabis declined from 71% market share in 21-22 to 64.9% in 22-23. Based on the most recent annual figures from Stats Canada, the largest contributor to the increase in overall cannabis sales across Canada was inhaled extracts, which rose by 59% in the 2022-23 fiscal year. The category accounted for 67.6% of the $600 million increase in sales from the previous year, or more than $405 million.
Big bucks. Now, in 2022, Newfoundland and Labrador began allowing the sale of cannabis vapes. The SQDC recently announced it would begin selling cannabis vapes products by the fall of 2025, which would make PEI the only province left that does not allow the sale of cannabis vape pens. What? Despite the ban, 1/4 of cannabis using Quebecers report using cannabis vapes, according to figures from the Institut de la Statistiques de Quebec.
That's because we all send them there. Not that I've done that. A recent report out of New Brunswick showed high levels of pesticides in illegal cannabis vapes, which are often easily found online or in unlicensed store. I'm not sure about that. I know a number of, I don't call them illegal. I call them legacy creators that create way, way, way better vape pens than are in the legal stores.
Yeah, well, yeah, we've seen that on not only vape pens but cannabis over time. Things have changed.
Yeah.
I got.
And I mean, like, I think if we're comparing it to like 20 years ago, you're right. But I think these days, like, I mean, nobody wants the PG in their vape pens anymore. I don't care if you're legacy or legal. Like, nobody wants that anymore. People are paying attention to it.
Yeah, the vitamin E actate or something that was in pens as well. Yeah, you don't need any of that. Alrighty, here we go. Next story. It's up.
Coming to us from Colorado politics. Colorado's first psilocybin clinics to open this summer.
All right. Over 2.5 years since voters elected to legalize magic mushrooms, the state's first centers offering psilocybin are expected to open early this summer, according to the Colorado Natural Medicine Division. Proponents say psilocybin is effective in the treatment of a few mental health issues, including post-traumatic stress disorder, anxiety, and treatment-resistant depression.
Yes, critics, meanwhile, insist that psilocybin is linked with suicide and accidental deaths, as well as associated with psychosis. Critics have also been pushing for strict oversight, arguing it is necessary because psychedelics are being promoted and normalized on social media in the same way that marijuana has been for the past decade. These are the critics' words, not ours. While the ballot measure passed in 2022, decriminalized the personal use of certain psychedelic substances, including psilocybin, the state program is solely focused on the use of psychedelics for medicinal uses, not recreational. Patients will only be able to ingest the psychedelics at so-called healing centers, and the retail sale of psilocybin remains illegal in Colorado.
Now, here's how Colorado's program is envisioned to work. Each potential patient must undergo 4 steps: assessment, preparation, administration, and integration. In the assessment phase, the individuals will go through a screening process to determine any risk factors and match them with a facilitator. Potential patients are asked about why they're seeking psychedelic therapy, their history of psychedelic use, and their medical and mental health history. If any risk factors are determined through the screening, they are reviewed by professionals before an individual is moved on to the preparation phase.
Wow. Very cool. During preparation, patients meet with their facilitators to discuss what they hope to get out of their session and develop a safety plan to handle any negative emotions or memories that may surface following the treatment. After a plan is established, a patient visits a healing center, which can be in a complementary business such as a therapist's office or an existing healthcare facility, a retreat center, or even the participant's home where they receive this treatment. Psilocybin treatment can be distributed by a clinical facilitator who can provide services to treat physical, mental, or behavioral health conditions, or simply a facilitator who is not licensed mental health professional and is therefore not authorized to treat clinical conditions. All facilitators in Colorado will be required to complete 150 hours of coursework, 40 hours of supervised practice, and 50 hours of consultation while providing natural medicine services and receive their basic life support BSL certification. Facilitators practicing in Oregon, which is also legalized psilocybin, must have at least 1 year of experience to begin practicing in Colorado.
After the medicine is administered, facilitators are required to monitor the patient for at least 3 to 5 hours and follow up with them afterwards to see how they're doing. Following the 2022 election, the legislature passed Senate Bill 290, which established the Natural Medicine Division and the regulatory framework for the industry in Colorado. The bill also created an advisory board and a working group to study the effects of legalizing and regulating natural medicines on the state's indigenous people. The Natural Medicine Division began its rule-making process in February of 2024 and concluded last month.
There are still a few components of the rules the division is working on, such as cleanup changes around training requirements and the at-home administration process. According to Tassia Poinsetta, the Colorado director of the Healing Advocacy Fund, a group that works to promote natural medicine programs in the state. Poinsetta said those should be resolved by the time the first facilities open. The agency will begin accepting applications from potential facilitators at the end of this month and expect the first facilities to open in June.
Well, some communities are prepared to welcome the facilities to the neighborhood this summer. More conservative parts of the state are apprehensive. Colorado Springs is currently in the process of passing a city ordinance that would put restrictions on where psilocybin can be sold within the city. Now, according to the city's planning director, Kevin Walker, he says, "We're being a little bit conservative around whether or not this is something good and how to regulate it because we don't know what the impacts are." While the 2022 pre-position that legalized the psychedelics does not permit local governments to ban them, it allowed municipalities to regulate their time, place, and manner. There you go.
Interesting.
Sound like something that you could work with?
It's definitely interesting. I like these facilitators where they've legalized it and said it's medicinal only. What we were reading at the beginning there, I really like it. We're gonna talk to you and see if this is right for you. Then we're gonna go through a bunch of integration, and then we're gonna pick the right spot. And then you have to do integration. They've got that part down pat. So what their preparation package is like and what their integration package is like. I don't know, but they definitely have the right skeleton for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Because I could hear you sort of saying, agreeing with those early paragraphs on there. So yeah, I thought, okay, I better find out what she thinks. All righty. On to the last story before we go to break.
Yes. Coming to us from Marijuana Moment. War on drugs has completely and utterly failed, United Nations Human Rights Commissioner says.
Wow. Who would have thought they would say that? The United Nations High Commissioner of Human Rights is calling on the international community to move away from punitive criminal drug policies, saying that the global war on drugs has failed completely and utterly. Criminalization and prohibition have failed to reduce drug use and failed to deter drug-related crime, says Commissioner Volker Turk. And he says that these policies are simply not working, and we are failing some of the most vulnerable groups in our societies.
We are.
We
Turk
are.
urged a shift to more evidence-based, human rights-centered approach to drug policies, prioritizing people over punishment. We need to start treating the person, not punishing the drug use disorder, he said. And according to a UN press release, historically, people who use drugs are marginalized, criminalized, discriminated against, and left behind, and very often stripped of their dignity and their rights.
Yeah. Rather than ostracize or punish drug users, Turk said their perspectives should be included in discussions about how to craft policies that minimize harm. We are destined to fail unless we ensure that genuine participation in formulating and implementing drug policies, what he says. There he is right there. The evidence is clear. The so-called war on drugs has failed completely and utterly, the UN official added, and prioritizing people over punishment means more lives are saved.
Yeah. Turk posted a short video statement to social media highlighting his comments at the Warsaw Conference, which is what Al just scrolled by there. The so-called war on drugs had destroyed countless lives and damaged entire communities, Turk said in the video statement. I mean, Vancouver, being the example that comes to mind. We have record number of drug-related deaths, more people than ever with drug use disorder, and higher levels of the everything's jumping on me here. Higher levels of the illegal production of many drugs. Criminalization and prohibition have failed to reduce drug use and failed to deter drug-related crime. These policies are simply not working, and we are failing some of the most vulnerable groups in our societies.
They're here. We need a transformative approach. And he continues, and the international guidelines on human rights and drug policy provide a framework for developing human rights-based approaches that prioritize health, dignity, and inclusion. Instead of punitive measures, we need gender-sensitive and evidence-based drug policies grounded in public health instead of scapegoating, with most ensure inclusive access to voluntary medical care and other social services.
Yeah. Turk's comments came on the heels of a statement earlier this year from UN special rapporteurs, experts, and working groups earlier that asserted the drug war has resulted in a range of serious human rights violations, as documented by a number of UN human rights experts over the years. We collectively urge member states and all UN entities to put evidence and communities at the center of drug policies by shifting from punishment towards support and invest in the full array of evidence-based health interventions for people who use drugs, ranging from prevention to harm reduction, treatment, and aftercare, emphasizing the need for a voluntary basis and in full respect of human rights norms and standards, that statement said.
The UN expert statement also highlighted a number of other UN agency reports, positions, resolutions, as well as actions in favor of prioritizing prevention and harm reduction over punishment. It pointed out, for example, to what it called a landmark report published by the UN Special Rapporteur on Human Rights that encouraged nations to abandon the criminal war on drugs and instead adopt harm reduction policies, such as decriminalization, supervised consumption sites. You hear that, Ontario? They just closed a bunch of them. Drug checking and widespread availability of overdose reversal drugs like naloxone, while also moving towards alternative regulatory approaches for currently controlled substances.
Yeah. That report noted that overcriminalization, stigmatization, and discrimination linked to drug use represent structural barriers leading to poorer health outcomes. Advocacy to reform the global war on drugs comes as international bodies and national governments across the world consider adjusting their approaches to drug control and regulation.
Yeah, late last year, for example, 19 Latin American and Caribbean nations issued a joint statement acknowledging the need to rethink the global war on drugs and instead focus on life, peace, and development within the region. A year ago, a separate UN Special Rapporteur's report said that the war on drugs may be understood to a significant extent as a war on people. And it's been said for a long time. It's just finally now the UN is finally agreeing. It's been because they've always been anti, right?
Yep. Its impact has been greatest on those who live in poverty, they said, and it frequently overlaps with discrimination directed at marginalized groups, minorities, and Indigenous peoples. In 2019, the UN Chief Executives Board, the CEB, which represents 31 UN agencies, including the UN Office on Drugs and Crime, adopted a position stipulating that member states should pursue science-based, health-orientated drug policies, namely decriminalization.
Despite shifting attitudes at the state and local levels on some drugs in the U.S., the country is still the leading global financer of international drug war efforts. A new report published this week by two organizations critical of the war on drugs found that $13 billion in U.S. taxpayers' money has gone to fund worldwide counter-narcotics activities since 2015, often coming at the expense of efforts to end global poverty, while at the same time contributing to international human rights violations and environmental harms.
Yeah.
There we go. Story is over.
Wow.
Yeah.
Not something that I would be expecting to come from the UN counselor. That's crazy.
Same here. Exactly. Yeah. When I saw that headline, I thought, what? Hang on here. That's not what the UN normally says. You know, like I say, when at, Canada, they've gone at other countries, and maybe they've just realized that, hey, yeah, the war on drugs has been a big failure.
Yeah, hardcore failure.
Hardcore, exactly. All right. Well, it's break time for us to medicate. We'll be right back. You're watching Psychedelics and Cannabis Educational News here at PACERadio.net. You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at PACERadio.net.
Legacy 420 have an awesome array of cannabis-infused beverages, from pop to Nature's Nectar's teas, all in amazing flavors. What a selection! We even have a delicious mango-infused juice, and let me tell you, it's delicious.
Everything is infused in-house, so we buy our syrup from, the same place where everybody else buys their syrup for their pop, and the infusion is done in the lab. It's all canned here, labeled here, produced 100% on Tyndonega.
We have two lines of drinks. One is called our Nature's Nectar. That was our original line that we came out with. And then we also have a line under the Red E brand. We have them in 10 milligrams, 30 milligram, and 60 milligram cans.
What a great selection for a get-together with friends or after a long day. Remember, if you want to wet your whistle with on-site lab-tested products, come see your trusted partner. Legacy 420 out on your road.
Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. Open Monday to Friday from 10 till 7 p.m. or by chance. Check out our flags, our t-shirts, plus our hats, and look of that supply of rolling papers, plus much more. We've got bongs and your favorite herbal vaporizers. Look at all the incense we have, as well as for those who collect knives, check out these knives in our collection. And while you're here, stop in to see Shay at the piercing room, where you can get poked by Shay. Daily deals, check them out. Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford, Ontario. Limestone City Hydroponics is Kingston, Ontario's hydroponics shop. Take your growing to the next level and create the optimal environment with a tent kit, or maximize your yield with an ebb and flow flood table kit. Either way, Limestone City Hydroponics has more sizes and options to fit your needs. Are you looking for the power of the sun that adapts to your budget? Then look no further, as they have professional grow lighting. They have indoor grow systems that are easy and cost effective, with many options to fit your living space and lifestyle. Cultivate your growing potential. We have everything you need to succeed. And if you can't make it to the store, they offer local delivery to the greater Kingston area. Remember, when you're looking for experts to help you grow, then look no further than the locally owned Limestone City Hydroponics, 105 Sunderland Drive in Kingston, Ontario. Call them at 613-548-0420. Are you looking for non-stop, continuous cannabis and psychedelic programming? If you are, then turn your browsers to 420radio.ca or paceradio.net, where you will find the 420 Pace re-rolled Saturday. Everything gets started at 8 a.m. Eastern Saturday morning. You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net. Hey, we're back. We got some more news to bring you, including 2 studies, by the way. And we'll get into that first one right now. It's up.
Coming to us from cannabis.net. Got lower back pain? Try some cannabis edibles. New study sheds light on why cannabis edibles work well for lower back pain.
There you go. Cannabis edibles work well for lower back pain. Edibles are reliable for long-lasting pain relief. Lower back pain is a common health condition faced by many adults aged 18 and up. And according to the World Health Organization, 619 million people worldwide are affected by lower back pain. And that's in 2020 alone.
Lower back pain can be challenging to treat. Pardon me. It can be caused by a multitude of factors, ranging from musculoskeletal causes, bad posture, an unhealthy lifestyle, obesity, injury, stress, or medical conditions. Sometimes more serious cases of lower back pain can be caused by fibromyalgia, arthritis, osteoporosis, and several other more serious conditions. Prompt treatment for your lower back pain is critical to improve one's quality of life, especially if it coexists with other medical conditions. The lower back plays an important role in overall function and mobility. So without treatment, lower back pain can significantly restrict movement and affect one's ability to exercise or do basic tasks. In addition, it's necessary to avoid complications.
There are several treatment options available for lower back pain, including physiotherapy, medications, and perhaps lifestyle changes, depending on the cause. However, researchers have found that cannabis is particularly effective at targeting an array of pain conditions, including lower back pain. Now, in a recent study out of Boulder, Colorado, researchers found that THC-rich cannabis edibles worked very well for patients who suffered from lower back pain.
Investigators from the University of Colorado at Boulder analyzed the impact of 3 edible products, high THC, high CBD, and edibles with similar amounts of CBD and THC. They were given to 249 study participants with lower back pain who then consumed them for 2 weeks. The researchers assessed the subjective mood and pain intensity of patients at the end of the study. Pain intensity following edible cannabis decreased over time across all 3 broadly defined product groups. They reported, however, the most significant improvements were observed among the patients who consumed the high THC edibles, while those who consumed high CBD edibles reported short-term tension relief.
THC, gotta have it all in there, people. These findings support the short-term anxiolytic effects of THC and anoxic effects of CBD, the authors concluded. They also added that the findings indicate that edible cannabis may be safe and suitable alternative pain therapy for those looking to substitute more traditional pain medications, like maybe opiates. There is a growing number of medical literature supporting the efficacy and safety of medical cannabis for treating lower back pain.
A 2018 study from Israel focused on 31 fibromyalgia patients with lower back pain. The researchers analyzed the analgesic properties of inhaled cannabis compared with opiates. The patients were given inhaled cannabis with a low THC potency under 5% and were treated for at least 6 months. Afterwards, these patients reported that they observed greater improvement in pain while they medicated with cannabis compared to just opiates. So were they using both? They also reported an improvement in their range of motion after cannabis treatment, though no similar improvements were observed with opiates.
This observational crossover study demonstrates an advantage of medical cannabis treatment in fibromyalgia patients with, or FM. I'm not sure if the FM patients, if
fibromyalgia.
It is, okay. Just so people know, there is going to be an upcoming story on fibro, so hang on. With LBD, which is lower back pain, as compared to standardized analgesic therapy, further studies, randomized clinical trials should assess whether these results can be generalized to the fibro population at large, the authors concluded. Now, why do edibles work best for pain? While there are many products and methods available to medicate with cannabis for pain, it's no wonder a great deal of patients prefer to use edibles. Compared to vaping, smoking, and topicals, edibles are superior when it comes to long-lasting pain relief because of cannabinoids and cannabis edibles pass through the liver.
The result is a much slower release into the bloodstream, providing patients with 4 up to 8 hours of pain relief, whereas other methods may only provide 1 to 3 hours of relief. Additionally, when THC is metabolized in the liver, it's converted into 11-hydroxy-THC. This metabolite is much more potent than THC and can provide more effective pain release. There are other benefits to edibles too, such as the fact that the onset is gradual and more uniform. Plus, it poses no irritation to the lungs. After edibles, sublingual tinctures and oils aren't too far off. Their effect can also last as long as 8 hours. Other alternative products include capsules and pills, all edibles going in through the liver.
And I have lost you.
We're at conclusion.
Oh, okay. Marijuana products, particularly edibles or tinctures, have been proven to be effective in helping reduce the severity of pain while one is undergoing treatment for lower back pain. The analytic properties of THC are well studied through CBD isn't far off either. Depending on the patient, THC and CBD or a dose of both can work to reduce pain caused by a variety of factors. Overall, cannabis interacts with the endocannabinoid system to effectively treat inflammation and pain while promoting homeostasis. While many pharmaceutical medications actually work well at numbing pain, they fail to address the root cause, which is inflammation. Thanks to the availability of THC and CBD products now, individuals can say goodbye to lower back pain.
Yeah. Depending on the severity of the condition and whether or not other illnesses are involved, one may be able to safely medicate with cannabis to help reduce lower back pain and improve overall quality of life. Always reach out to a medical professional with experience in treating pain with cannabis if you have questions and can find one.
There you go. I agree. As far as the edibles, helping with muscle pain, all that stuff, I've said that myself for years. I know if I've been physical doing something here around the place and I ache, like I did last week, I always turn to Legacy 420's tincture, not the tincture, but the THC base that they use in their products for their beverages and stuff. And I'll make myself a drink, a cannabis infused drink, THC infused drink. I can figure out the doses on my own because each milliliters is 20 milligrams, and I'll have a drink of juice with that at the same time as when I go to bed, and I can sleep.
Yep.
So,
100%. Like edibles help. I only know of one person actually that edibles do nothing for. She needs to inhale her cannabis, which works beautifully for her. But yeah, I mean, I find inhalation works for short term, and it augments well with edibles, which, like the story says, that can last 4 to 8 hours.
Yeah, I always found eating it deals better physically, muscle pain wise versus the
Me
smoking.
too.
So, alrighty, on to the next story.
Coming to us from the International Cannabis Business Conference, Colombian review of clinical trials find cannabis improves fibromyalgia symptoms.
There we go. Oh, that's nice, bud. The use of cannabis-based medications by patients diagnosed with fibromyalgia syndrome, including the use of unprocessed cannabis flower, is associated with symptomatic improvements, according to a symptomatic review of clinical trials previously published in the Journal of Exploratory Research in Clinical and Social Pharmacy. It says there is a need to explore pharmacological options for syndrome (FMS), such as medical cannabis. The aim of this symptomatic review was to synthesize and analyze the available information about the effectiveness and efficacy and safety of cannabis-based products on medical use and cannabis-based medicines in patients with fibro. The researchers stated that the goal of the review, the team of researchers conducting the review, were affiliated with
Research Group on Pharmaceutical Promotion and Prevention, University of Antigua in Colombia, the 2EI Dorado Botanical Independent Research and Advisory in Bioinformatics and Precision Medicine in Colombia, and the 3 Research Group on Pharmaceutical Care, which is the University of Granada in Spain. Interventional or observational studies, symptomatic reviews, and meta-analysis regarding the effectiveness, efficacy, and safety of the CBPMs and the CBMs. Wow. In patients with fibromyalgia were retrieved from the PubMed Medline database until April 24. Then the information was summarized in tables with the type of cannabis, the method used in the study, and the effectiveness, efficacy, and safety outcomes. And this is stated by the researchers about their methodology.
fibro. Is a chronic musculoskeletal condition that is estimated to affect as much as 5% of the world's population. Women are more likely to be diagnosed with fibro compared to men. It says here, 19 publications were selected from the search or form the relevant references. Different CBMPs and CBM were used across the studies. Also, different instruments for measuring the effectiveness were used. In general, the use of CBPMs and CBM showed an important improvement in pain, quality of life, and sleep habits. There was no serious adverse effects. What can you say? Wow.
Yeah. The results showed that cannabis and the way it's used could be effective and safe in patients with fibro. However, the evidence is limited, and there is a need for high-quality clinical studies conducted with improved methodological design. I mean, they want to do it bigger and better. And according to a recent market analysis by SNS Insider, the global medical cannabis market was valued at $16.84 billion in 2023 and is projected to reach an estimated $86.04 billion in value by 2032. Wow.
No, they really throw those numbers around. Let's just hope that I don't know what all they come up with to get those, but that's that's a lot of medicine.
That's a lot of medicine.
And I would assume that includes recreational numbers as well.
Probably.
Right. So, all righty. Oh, gee, we're down to 2 more stories, and the next one is up.
Coming to us from StratCan. Organigram acquires Motive Labs, making it Canada's largest cannabis company by market share.
Organigram Holdings, Inc. has acquired cannabis extractor Motive Labs for $90 million in stock and cash deal. The move, consisting of $50 million in cash and $40 million of Organigram common shares, says the company makes Organigram the largest cannabis company with a combined market share of 12.4%. Motive holds 21.2% and 9.4% of the Canadian vape and infused pre-rolled markets, respectively, according to data from Hi-Fire.
The bigger they grow, the harder they fall. This will mean the combined companies will have a combined market share of 21.7% for vapes, 9.6% for pre-rolls, including 16% for infused pre-rolls, 14.1% for concentrates, 21.6% in the hash category, 11.2% in cannabis flower, and 47% in milled flower, 19.2% market share of cannabis gummies. This deal is about a leading public cannabis company joining forces with Canada's top private licensed producer, said Paolo De Lucia, who is the chief strategy officer at Organigram. And he said this in a press release. We are extremely excited about leveraging our combined competitive advantages and respective market positions to continue to grow in Canada and beyond.
Now, they're located in Aylmer, Ontario. Motive is a Canadian leader in the vape and infused pre-roll categories with a portfolio of brands like Box Hot. Oh, got one right here. my battery. And Debunk, Boondocks, and Rizzlers, and wholesale sales and services for external brands. The company grew from $35 million in net revenue in 2022 to $79 million in 2023 and has generated approximately $86 million in the last year. Motive also has a storage facility in London, Ontario, which Organigram plans to use as a distribution hub.
The Aylmer facility provides Organigram with monthly production of 1,350 kilograms of distillate, 400 kilograms of high-value hydrocarbon extracts, 750K infused pre-roll capacity, and 1 million units of vape filling capacity. The cannabis extractor can produce 1,350 kilograms of distillate per month and 400 kilograms of hydrocarbon-derived extracts. The company can also produce THCA, an increasingly popular cannabinoid among consumers.
Now, Benna Goldberg, CEO of Organigram, says the highly contemporary acquisition of Motive establishes Organigram as Canada's largest cannabis company by market share and accelerates our vision to a leading cannabis company across all major categories, driven by a relentless focus on the consumer of today and tomorrow. Mario Nark, CEO and founder of Motive, says, "This is a landmark transaction in our industry, and that Motive team is thrilled to be joining forces with Organigram to create Canada's undisputed leader with deep capabilities in all major cannabis categories."
Yeah. Organigram reported net revenue of $41.1 million for the third quarter of 2024 and net income of $2.8 million compared to a loss of $213.5 million in the same reporting period in 2023. The majority of the company's net revenue for 3 months ended June 30th, 24, and came from sales in Canada's non-medical adult use market, which, was 89% of it, or $36.5 million, while just 6% of sales, or $8.3 million, were to the international markets, and 1% of sales were to Canada's medicinal cannabis market. Sale of cannabis flower was 58% of Organigram's business in the third quarter of 2024 at an average cost of $1.50 per gram, down from $1.67 per gram in the same quarter in 2023 and $1.51 from the second quarter of 2024.
In May of 2024, Organigram announced a 3-year supply agreement with Avita Medical in the UK with the potential to supply 1,700 kilograms of indoor-grown dried cannabis flower. And in June, it announced a plan to acquire a minority stake in Berlin-based cannabis company Sanity Group, expanding Organigram's footprint in Europe. And in August, they announced new nano-emulsion technology in collaboration with British American Tobacco. Organigram was one of the 3 cannabis companies named in the report from the Israeli government that proposes levies on Canadian cannabis products entering the country. And that was all over dumping accusations.
In September, Organigram closed on its second round of funding from British American Tobacco. This is the second of 3 rounds of funding from British American Tobacco BTDE Investments, Inc., a wholly owned subsidiary of BAT, which is British American Tobacco. Plans for the partnership between British American Tobacco and Organigram were announced in late 2023 with an investment of nearly $125 million from the tobacco company.
And Organigram says that most of that would be used to create a strategic investment pool named Jupiter, focusing on emerging cannabis opportunities, including geographic expansion. The first round of funding closed on January 23rd. The third round of funding is expected to close in early 2025. So there you go.
Mm-hmm.
They say it was the largest. Motif was the largest privately owned cannabis company in Canada. So they weren't even, they weren't even available. No shareholders, no stocks, no nothing.
Yeah, they were
Privately
privately
owned.
owned, doing it the right
Yeah,
way, and now they've
yeah,
sold out to Organigram. And I mean, like I do my best to stay away from anything Organigram. I mean, I'm still getting checks because of their laced weed.
right.
So it's just not a company I will ever trust.
And they move on.
And they move on.
So, yeah. Alrighty, last story of the day.
Coming to us from SciPost, magic mushrooms help reverse stress-induced memory deficits, new study suggests.
And this page has been giving me problems, just so you know. So this would be interesting. See if it jumps all over the place. Researchers have discovered that extracts from psilocybin, currently known as magic mushrooms, may play a role in reversing memory deficits caused by chronic stress. The study, published in the Journal of Psychoactive Drugs, found that when administered under specific conditions, the mushroom extract restored spatial learning and memory impairments and increased levels of brain-derived neurotrophic effect, a protein essential for brain plasticity. These effects were observed in rats subjected to chronic, unpredictable mild stress protocol, a widely used animal model for inducing stress-related cognitive deficits. Magic mushrooms have long been recognized for their psychoactive effects, primarily due to their active components, psilocybin and psilocin. These compounds influence serotonin receptors, particularly 5-HT2A, which are associated with mood regulation, cognitive process, and neuroplasticity. Previous studies have shown that psilocybin can enhance synaptic plasticity, increase dendritic spine density, and upregulate genes related to neuroplasticity.
Mm-hmm. Chronic, unpredictable mild stress is a model often used to mimic the effects of long-term stress in humans. It involves exposing animals to a series of mild but unpredictable stressors over several weeks, leading to behavioral and physiological changes such as anxiety, depression-like symptoms, and cognitive impairments. Previous research has demonstrated that chronic stress reduces BDNF levels in the hippocampus, a brain region critical for memory and learning. In their new study, the researchers sought to explore whether psilocybin cubanis extract could mitigate these effects. Psychedelics have very interesting mechanisms. These substances are like a double-edged sword. It seems that most psychedelics at very low doses can have very powerful and rapid effects on stimulating neurogenesis and improving mental disorders, especially depression, said study author Selur Vesigi, who is the head of Cognitive Neuroscience Lab at the Iranian Institute of Medicinal Plants.
Since in depression, a person seriously needs to change their perspective and mindset. Significant and rapid stimulation of neurogenesis can be a lifesaver, especially for treatment-resistant depression. Also, psychedelics such as psilocybin can be very beneficial for cognitive impairments. The researchers used male Wistar rats as their subjects, dividing them into groups based on whether they were exposed to chronic stress and whether they received, I can't pronounce those words, an extract or a placebo. In total, 140 rats participated, with each experimental group containing 7 rats. Stress was induced using a chronic, unpredictable, mild stress protocol over 4 weeks, involving a rotation of stressors such as food and water deprivation, exposure to cold, water, and heat stress. Rats not subject to stress served as controls.
The effects of the psilocybin extract were tested at varying times relative to training sessions in a water maze, which is a standard tool for evaluating spatial learning and memory in rodents. The maze requires rats to locate a hidden platform using visual cues, and their performance provides insights into spatial memory and learning capabilities. The researchers measured escape latency, time taken to find the platform, and the distance traveled during the trials. A subsequent probe test assessed memory retention to examine the molecular effects, particularly on BDNF levels. Researchers collected hippocampal tissue after the test and analyzed it used real-time polymer chain reactions. And I will be right back. My doorbell just went off.
Okay, the researchers found that rats exposed to chronic stress showed impairments in spatial learning and memory compared to unstressed controls, confirming that cognitive deficits induced by chronic, unpredictable mild stress. These stressed rats also had lower levels of BDNF in their hippocampus, aligning with prior research on the impact of stress on brain plasticity. When psilocybin extract was administered 24 to 48 hours before training, it restored spatial learning and increased BDNF levels in stressed rats. Notably, only the 48-hour pre-training administration also reversed memory deficits observed during the probe test. In contrast, administering the extract immediately before or after training or shortly before the probe test had no beneficial effects on stressed rats.
Interesting. Interestingly, in non-stress controlled rats, the extract impaired both spatial learning and memory when given at most time points, except when administered 48 hours before training. Under these conditions, it increased the BDNF levels without negatively affecting cognitive performance. The most important point to note is the dose and time-dependent properties of psychedelic substances. Psilocybin in this study showed that it acts very time-dependently. Importantly, psychedelics behave very unpredictably.
But as with all research, there are caveats to consider. First, the study focused exclusively on male rats, leaving open the question on whether similar effects were observed in females. Additionally, the long-term consequences of psilocybin administered remain unclear, as the study only assessed short-term outcomes. The specific dose used in the study, which is 20 milligrams per kilogram, might not generalize to other doses or forms of psilocybin. Another limitation is the use of mushroom extract rather than purified psilocybin or psilocin, making it challenging to pinpoint the active compound responsible for the observed effects. Furthermore, while the Morris water maze is a well-established tool for studying spatial memory, it does not capture all dimensions of cognitive function or the broader behavioral changes associated with chronic stress.
Future research could explore the mechanisms underlying the time-dependent effects of psilocybin cubanis, or magic mushrooms, observed in this study. For example, why did only the 48-hour pre-training administration restore both spatial learning and memory in stressed rats? Investigating the role of other plasticity-related molecules and pathways, as well as expanding the range of behavioral and cognitive tests, could provide a more comprehensive understanding of how psilocybin-containing mushrooms affect the brain. Clinical studies in humans would also be necessary to determine whether these findings translate to stress-related cognitive impairments in people. The most important warning is the general use of psychedelics, he said. Psychedelic medicines can be very dangerous and should not be freely available to the public. The best thing to do is to make psychedelics available at medical centers in microdoses. Well, that's his opinion.
There you go.
Yep.
There you go. All done.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, I just clicked on a button, something acted up wrong there. So, what do you think?
I find it interesting that for that story, they talked about how it helped the rats that they had stressed out, and that's wonderful. But they were saying that rats that they hadn't stressed out, it actually, if I remember correctly, they were saying it, it didn't have positive effects. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah, yeah. So, because they're not stressed.
So there's no stress to reduce. But even on days that I'm not stressed and I still take my microdose medicine, it has an effect. Mind you, they can't talk to the rats, so I get that.
No. Yeah.
But it still has an effect. It just one that they can't see.
Yeah, that's true. Yep. All right. Anything else before we sign off?
Well, this is my last news report before Christmas because I'm taking next week off. So thank you so much, everybody. I hope you have an absolutely wonderful holiday, wonderful Christmas, and a wonderful New Year. And I'll see you in 2025.
All right, sounds good. From the Legacy420.com news desk, that's our news report for today. Thanks to the Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, Legacy420.com, Limestone, Hydroponics.ca, as well as At-Eze.ca. And in closing, let's say thanks for tuning in, thanks for watching, and don't forget to educate, medicate, and do not incarcerate. You're listening to the P.A.C.E Radio Network here at PACERadio.net.
The opinions of the individuals during this broadcast are their own, and may not be the opinions of their group or other organizations they may be involved with. All medical advice during our broadcast is not a medical opinion and should be checked with your medical physician.
When you have a pain that's reached its peak, Legacy for 20 is so unique. If organic cannabis is what you seek, here's your trusted partner 7 days a week. Suppository salves, vapes and drops, topicals, edibles, infused pop. Just when life seems like it ain't easy, at Legacy 420 enjoy a pop freezy. Lab tested products make them the GOAT. Legacy 420 out on your road. Legacy 420 in Tyndonega Mohawk territory. Indigenous organic cannabis at its finest.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more, we've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
Limestone City Hydroponics is Kingston, Ontario's hydroponics shop. Take your growing to the next level and create the optimal environment with a tent kit, or maximize your yield with an ebb and flow flood table kit. Either way, Limestone City Hydroponics has more sizes and options to fit your needs. Are you looking for the power of the sun that adapts to your budget? Then look no further, as they have professional grow lighting. They have indoor grow systems that are easy and cost effective, with many options to fit your living space and lifestyle. Cultivate your growing potential. We have everything you need to succeed. And if you can't make it to the store, they offer local delivery to the greater Kingston area. Remember, when you're looking for experts to help you grow, then look no further than the locally owned Limestone City Hydroponics, 105 Sunderland Drive in Kingston, Ontario. Call them at 613-548-0420. We are people advocating cannabis education here at PACERadio.net.